In biblical times, there was a way of dealing with sin. Rocks. Do you remember when they brought her in, pushed her onto the dusty ground, and a crowd of cruel and greedy people surrounded her with rocks in their hands? Clothes, if she still had any, was torn off, and her tears were spilling onto the dusty ground. But where was the man? Was she his heart's love, or was it just an afternoon activity? Either way, he was not there. She was there alone, ready to be stoned to death. Have you ever been there? Interesting thing about throwing rocks is that it actually feels good. It feels exhilarating. No! You yell. You are wrong! As if you did anything to help. You deserve it! And so you pick up your rock and you stone them as hard as possible. But ladies and gentlemen, rocks don't hit sin. Rocks hit people. Have you ever seen students on riot? They cause such mayhem in the streets of our towns, and the only weapon that they use are rocks. And whatever their reasons, it must be feeling good, especially when you hit a riot policeman. It must be feeling good. We hit at the right thing. Sin, the blackness and darkness that overcomes the human's heart and makes it unrecognizable. But there are not enough rocks in the entire world to remove sin until one man stepped into the middle of the circle and scribbled onto the dusty ground just to remind the crowds that only he could remove the sin out of this world, and that we should put down our little pathetic rocks. But we would not. And sometimes we Christians could be the worst. A group of teenagers get killed on Friday night and we say they deserved it. They were drinking. What did they expect? Or a girl gets raped and we say she was wearing a mini skirt. In fact, bring her here. Let's pick our rocks and stone her. You see, no one knows what Jesus scribbled on the ground on that day. Some have said that maybe he wrote the names of the men who were in that crowd and had also slept with her. Or maybe he just made patterns and designs so that the anger of the crowd would diminish. Or maybe he wrote the words, "This is your daughter." Whatever he wrote, he backed it up with these words, "If there's any one of you who is without sin, let him be the first to throw his stone." And there was silence. And it is in that silence that he saved us all. It is in that silence that he leveled the ground. Because for those of us who have made serious mistakes and sins in life, he gave us an opportunity and a place where we can be broken but not crushed. And for those who thought that they had a right of picking rocks and throwing to others, he gave them an opportunity to choose love, to choose forgiveness. And it happens to all of us, because maybe you came into the crowd running with a rock in your hand only to discover that the person in the middle of the circle is a loved one. What if your daughter told you that they were expectant, or your friend told you that they were having an affair? Love is giving you a chance to choose. And maybe you came with a rock in your hand and you wanted to tell them something about that sin, but you can't do it. You won't do it because of love. And so slowly the grip on your hand begins to loosen. And for the first time you discover that you can actually drop your rock. Did you hear that sound? Can you imagine on that day when that woman just prepared herself to be stoned to death, only to hear a flat thud of grace as the stones of those people hit the ground? You see, they came looking at her. They left looking at themselves. They came condemning her. They left feeling condemned, because it's not the woman on trial. It is Jesus who is on trial. So look at the woman. Look at the trial. Look at the test. Then look at the truth. While everyone's accusing finger was pointing at her, Jesus' finger was scribbling onto the dust maybe to remind us all that we came from dust. And while everyone's rock of judgment was held up high, ready to stone her to death, the rock of ages, the rock of salvation, was down on the ground. Have you ever told someone, a loved one, a sinful thing that you did, and you just prepared yourself to hear their stone-cold words of judgment, but instead you had a rock hit the ground? You see, our little pathetic rocks cannot change this world. Maybe on that day when Jesus knelt down, he wrote the words, "My rock is bigger than yours. So put down your little pathetic rocks." Because you see, only he can change this world, for he is the rock of ages. Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flowed be of sin the double cure, saved from wrath and make me whole.